What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I do an upload every day. Thank you for joining once again. There's a lot of stuff going on. Joe Biden is a half an hour late for a speech that he was supposed to hold at 1. So the developing story just happening as I happen to be recording this. But what I want to talk about is part 2 of a video I did yesterday. I'll just put them in the same playlist to link them together. But part 1 was why are all these unconstitutional, you could almost say borderline evil draconian measures being taken, and my answer to that is I believe, I'm guessing, I think, allegedly, it's to squash the rise of populism that's happened over the last decade or so. I'm going to start off here with a David Thunder video on how they're doing it. He did it so perfectly because we can have him say it, and I'll just say props to you, David, and then get out the way. And then we'll talk about why I want to make sure that we understand. I really believe in the balance of nature and life. So, as dark as things get, at some point they'll have to get as positive and good as well. I just don't know when. So, let's get into this. David Thunder, who grew up in Ireland and who I consider a modern day philosopher, lays it out perfectly.
When you hear a howling wind and see clouds gathering on the horizon, you know a storm is afoot even before the first drop of water falls. There are clear signs that a large part of the democratic West may be on the brink of a de facto regime change. Unless we see a major course correction, we are heading in the direction of a new type of regime characterized by a much more intrusive style of governance, a more far-reaching surveillance and police state, and a more half-hearted utilitarian attitude to civil rights. The signs of change are abundantly clear to anyone who has eyes to see and ears to hear. First, a turn toward ever more intrusive forms of surveillance and control over our private choices, how we behave at home, what we wear on our faces, where we eat and drink, what substances we put into our bodies. Second, the turn to highly collectivized notions of social responsibility. The idea that individual choices affecting others must be coercively determined by public officials acting in the name of the collective, rather than left up to personal discretion and choice. Third, the heavy-handed use of censorship, mostly by private companies like Google, Twitter, and Facebook, directed at anyone who seriously questions official sources of information. Fourth, the relentless use of mass media to inculcate fear and terror in the population, softening them up for emergency measures. Fifth, the watering down or outright suspension of civil rights, allegedly to protect some public interest. I sincerely hope this drift away from liberal constitutionalism is reversed very soon, and I, for one, will do what I can to fight it. But because of the degree to which citizens have been terrorized into submission, I'm afraid things may have to get a lot worse before enough citizens wake up to turn the tide.
So, what effect do these things have on people? Some people are populist and know they're populist. Some people don't care, they're apathetic. If you are apathetic, you don't have that luxury anymore, in my opinion. You have to be pushed into one side or the other. Uh, I said in my last video, the difference is some people view politicians and leaders and even non elected officials like Dr. Fauci as their boss. And I view them as my employee, as the politicians, the public servants. So even if you're apathetic, you have to fall into one of those. If you don't fall into the view that politicians are your boss, then you are in the other category, whether you know it or not. I want to tell a story. I'm going to read a clip from a tweet that Sydney Watson shared so I can show the ramifications that this is happening in a place like Australia that's done it at a level that probably only China could respect, the lockdowns. Sydney Watson, I quote, just had the most depressing call with my family in Australia. They feel trapped. They feel like their friends will turn on them. I digress. Gina Carano got canceled for predicting that. My brother said everyone in Melbourne has a black cloud over them. I don't know how to get out. I just want to cry. Hearing them explain how bad things are is infinitely worse than the stories in the media. My sister in law started crying, talking about how she can't even trust her own family. Quarantine center up the road from them, cops doing whatever they like. It's a mess. They shouldn't have given up their guns. So she's like, yeah, I know. We get it. They're disarmed. It was a horrible move. But my brother is a young man. He never had a say in this. He's paying the price for the idiocy of those who came before him. Lots of young people are. He didn't ask or vote for this. So I said, I hope they stay strong, stay positive. There's always a way out. I have no idea what it is, how difficult it will be, or how long it will take. Hopefully I'm wrong and we can look back at these videos and get a good laugh at my expense at how paranoid or Fox Mulder-ish from X-Files these are, where this is just crazy conspiracy and nonsense. Hopefully we can look at it like that. I think though, I am black pilled short term, 5 years or so. It's going to get bad. It's going to get worse, much worse. But it will get better long term. I think here's the mark to look at. It's race. At least because I think the US is what's going to have to lead this. The US is a very unique country. But here's the problem. Race is a huge divider. China knows that. I'm going to do another video. China released critical race theory propaganda, just showing that either it's from them or obviously they support the divide. I talked about this in another video once. I did a Tough Mudder once, and it was so much better than I ever thought it was going to be. They played the national anthem to start the race. There's people of all different backgrounds in the race and abilities and athletic ability. And when you get into the race and you're dead tired and you have to jump over a wall or swim through mud, or there's a place where you have to jump and then scale a wall, but most people are too tired and the wall is too high, you've got to have people on the top of the wall helping. So what turns out is the people who are really athletic, they get out ahead, but they're not running ahead and leaving everyone behind. They run ahead and then some of them stay back and they help people out. You see anybody on that course that's kind of down. It's supposed to be fun and challenging. You see anybody with their head down or disappointed or maybe even in tears? No, I did not see one person not care about the next man. And that's just a voluntary course. What I want to talk about is when real life happens, when they continue to crush populist left and right, at some point, race can't matter. We're at an existential crisis. And when that happens, that's when you're going to see the rise, the return of the Jedi, if you will. Right now, you can see signs of it. There's in Italy, people burning passports. Michael Malice's book, The Anarchist Handbook, reached #1 on Amazon. And I believe he did the publishing all on his own. He released it in like 30 days or something. Crazy stuff in a good way. Comic Dave Smith, his influence continues to rise. I hope he runs for president. That is a really important moment, I think. Look at him as a young Ron Paul.
Why do you want to share government with these people? It's a question I've often asked. I think more people are more open to this idea, but it's something that I felt a need to, not just my audience, any audience for that matter, to really take into consideration as they look at the landscape of what we have right now in the world. The same people that had lectured you about staying at home, you live in a bubble, cover your face, diaper if you have to go out, shut you down, you're non-essential, all that sort of stuff. All it took was an unfortunate situation in Minneapolis for them to go completely to the opposite of the thing that they lectured you on. Summer of 2020, I thought would have been a time that so many of y'all got it there. This game has been rigged. And your desire to save the republic, has only resulted in your, I don't want to say enslavement. That's a little too harsh. Some ways you can say that, but you get what it is that I'm saying. You're ensuring the power structure of leftists. Advocate for decentralization or even abolition. You are in the way of liberty, and as far as I'm concerned, you are my enemy.
Talk about young. Eric Young July. Eric July Young Ripper 59. That dude is fire. That dude is amazing. And he's doing his own comic book. He's all in culture, music. He's got his band. He's a dope MC. I don't know how he does. I really don't know how he does that. How he can be in this metal band and then also be, I mean, seriously, like as dope as any MC I've heard. I mean, a dope MC. And then he just drops videos all day of just insightful stuff out of this world. So well read. Amazing. I'm going to end with this. I told you that it's going to come down to America, just in my opinion. I'm just guessing. I could be completely wrong. But I think the Constitution is the only thing in the way. That's why Dr. Fauci said Americans have this spirit, and I'm paraphrasing, they won't do as they're told.
We're not a country that would accept if a ruler tells us you must do this. I was talking with our UK colleagues just today who were saying the UK is very similar to where we are now in our outbreak because each of our countries have that independent spirit of we don't want to be told what to do. Well, I understand that, but now is the time to do what you're told.
It's the Constitution and there's American spirit. Listen to this man speak. And we're seeing it at school board meetings. It's going to branch out to more than that because this isn't just about masks. This isn't just about critical race theory. It's not about the pandemic. Not just about it. It's about the actions. And listen to this.
I'd like to begin my comments tonight by reading a quote, which in essence is the genesis of all of this Black Lives Matter, social justice, CRT conversations we're having in our country today. Quote, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color," close quote. Colin Kaepernick, August 2016. I am the direct descendant of the North American slave trade. Both my parents are black, all 4 of my grandparents are black, all 8 of my great-grandparents, all 16 of my great-greats. On my mother's side, my ancestors were enslaved in Alabama. On my father's side, we were enslaved in Texas. I am not oppressed. I'm not oppressed, and I'm not a victim.
This is why I consider the American spirit something unique to this country that I haven't seen in other countries, and it will have to be the way forward. That's why you see people, that's why I'm so very much against critical race theory in schools. The attempt is to say that black man can't have that American spirit because of whatever X things that happened in the past or that are happening now. That's what it really comes down to. It's saying, you're black. How could you have an American spirit? You don't know. I'm going to end with this woman here who spoke at another school board meeting. It's corny, but it makes me proud to be an American. And boy, does she bring the heat. This is how it's going to happen. Respectful, forceful, peaceful, intelligent, working with other people, motivating. This makes me want to run through a brick wall. Take care.
Rooted Wings on Instagram. Nathan Fletcher, I tagged the heck out of you, so I'm sure that you are very familiar with me. Jim Desmond, thank you for your work. Wilma Wooten, this is also directed at you along with Nathan Fletcher. America is not a hospital. California is not a hospital. San Diego, it's not a hospital. This is a constitutional republic that guarantees protection of individual freedom and liberty and due process. This applies to our individual pursuits of medical interventions and health practices. San Diego is not a hospital floor that we collectively have checked into that subjects all patients to equitably prescribed medical care with no due process. Our Constitution does not secure for government power to impose forced equity in medical mandates and interventions or the power to punish carte blanche. There are 3.338 million people in San Diego County, 3,811 people who have died with COVID. Of those, 96%, 3,652 had comorbidities with hypertension, diabetes, cardiac disease accounting for the top three. Median age 77. That is a total fatality rate of 0.1%. 3.338 million people. That is a clear affinity for a specific vulnerable age and health demographic with majority fatalities prior to available treatment options and prevention. 91% of San Diegans, 60-69, received the injection. 98%, 70-79, received the injection. We remove consent from treating us like we are patients in a hospital ward. We are done. The consent of the governed is removed. We will not comply. We do not consent. Nathan Fletcher, you are on notice. We will constitutionally remove all petty tyrants beginning now.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next speaker.